good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Business Continuity on Public Cloud webinar. We are doing this along with IBM and Arrow. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Danny to go ahead and kick this off.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, everybody, for joining. My name is Dan Bongiovanni. I'm a Client Solutions Executive, and I specialize in storage. So today we're having this webinar on business continuity on the public cloud. I have with me Dave Ficacci. He's a Director of Hybrid IT at MicroStrategy, and Arash is with us. He's a Senior Storage Specialist. We're going to run through Spectrum Virtualize in the cloud and IBM Storage Insights. We'll have a short presentation on each with demonstrations of both products. Can everybody hear me okay? Dave, thank you. Okay, so let's get started. Just trying to move to the next slide. There we go. Oh, one too many. Okay, so MicroStrategy was founded in 1983, so we've been around 37 years, so we've been around for a long time. We've seen the IT industry and open systems industry really take off from its infancy in 1983, and we've been there throughout that time. We're headquartered in Northeast United States. We have about 150 employees, but what's significant is we pride ourselves in being a very technical organization, and we have a ratio of about 3 to 1 of technical to sales staff. We look at providing leading-edge business solutions using technology for our customers, and that's really important as opposed to providing technical solutions. We really look at the business value of those solutions and help our customers to take advantage and be able to provide business results to those customers through technology. So we have 5 areas in the organization where we specialize: business process and content management. That's where we help our customers really organize their unstructured data and automate their business processes. And this could have significant impacts to the business. This group has been around for about 25 years and has been helping our customers manage their document and business process. Data analytics is also a major part of what we do in the solutions we provide. We're really data focused. We help our customers not only to store and manage their data, but get more out of their data. So organize data available and help customers provide insights with their data that can impact their operations. Security is part of everything we do. It has to be with every technical company, a technology company out there. If you don't look at the security aspects of the solutions you're providing, you're not doing your customers any justice, and it spans across all our business practices. Our infrastructure practice, which we call our hybrid IT, is helping our customers with not only their on-prem and cloud solutions, but how to move from on-prem to the cloud and back and be flexible in doing that. And finally, our managed services offering helps our customers, especially the small and medium-sized customers. We help them manage their systems when they don't have the right mix of staff to do that or can't justify the right mix of staff. We'll take on different areas where they're lacking in expertise and manage those solutions, from managing point products, applications, or security aspects of their environment to managing all their servers and storage infrastructure. So, finding the right partner is critical, and having a partner that understands your data, understands security, and business processes is really important. So we we help our customers in many different areas. Today, we're going to be focused on storage, but our practices span many different operations within the organization. We've been focused on customers for almost 40 years now, since 1983. It was funny, the CEO of our company was doing a webinar the other day, and it was with one of our long-standing customers, who's actually been a customer of ours for almost the entirety that the organization has been around. He came in to buy a box of floppies 36 years ago, and he's still a major customer of ours, and we provide infrastructure support, application support, and customized applications for his organization over the years. And we have many customers that have been with us 10, 20, and 30 years, because we are so focused on our customers. We are located in, our headquarters is in Parsippany, New Jersey. We're a regional integrator. We focus on the Northeast from pretty much Maryland through Maine. And we have 4 locations, one in Massachusetts. The headquarters, as I said, is in New Jersey. We also have a New York office and a Pennsylvania office. So we, as I said, focus on the Northeast. And I'm going to pass it over to Dave, our Director of Hybrid Computing, and he's going to talk about our Executive Briefing Center and some of the what we have to offer in terms of storage and power system support. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Danny. Appreciate that. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about our facility here. What you see there in that picture on the bottom left actually is our facility. We have about 9 racks of equipment there in our New Jersey location. We have a sister location down in Malvern, PA, which looks quite similar. So that environment there is what we call the Executive Briefing and Innovation Center. So that environment is really not only our sandbox, it's also for our customers as well. This is a data center that is connected to the public cloud. These data centers are connected to each other. They are there for POCs, performance testing, beta testing. It's there for our customers to come in when, maybe they're a little nervous about purchasing a new solution. They want to get their hands on it a little bit. That's what this environment is there for our customers to come to the office, spend time with us in front of the keyboard, getting down and dirty on these systems so that you have a level of comfort with them. These systems are also there for our team. Our team will never go into a customer's environment to try something first. This environment is there for our guys to stay sharp, develop solutions in-house, vet them, ensure that they're set up securely and to best practices before we go into any customer environment to duplicate that effort. This is just a list of some of the systems that we have in the environment, both from the hardware and software side. As you can see, it's an extensive list. This is an ever-changing list. As IBM releases new hardware, we will pull out old hardware, put in new hardware. We will constantly upgrade the software to ensure that we're at best of breed technologies at all times. I'm not going to go through these. This is an eye chart. You can obviously see that we cover a wide variety of the portfolio. In addition to having all this technology and software at our disposal, we create solutions from these. We're going to talk about a couple of these today, but our reach is wide. You'll see on here, container mobility with IBM and Red Hat OpenShift. We do Nutanix on Power. We do a lot of automation with Red Hat on Ansible. So we're not just a storage and power company, even though that's really what we're talking about today. Our breadth of skill is very wide. Just to hone in on that storage expertise we have, as Danny said, we're a long-time IBM partner. We were one of the first business partners to actually have an SVC, a Spectrum Virtualized Cluster, in our lab. So we've been at this 12, 13 years ago, I think, is when we brought that in. As such, we hold pretty much all the IBM certifications. As you saw on the prior slide, we have pretty much the entire IBM storage line in our lab. So our guys are well versed. We manage clients from mom and pop shop up to, enterprise Fortune 50 companies with petabytes and petabytes of storage. The story is very similar on the power side of the house, longtime IBM power provider. We're very deep in skill, very experienced, again, in supporting that same breadth of SMB customers all the way up to the enterprise. We're there to meet your needs. So with that, I will turn it over to Arash, who will give the Spectrum Virtualize for Public Cloud briefing and then the demo. So Arash.
Thank you, Dave. Today's main discussion now is going to be about Spectrum Virtualize, and mainly Spectrum Virtualize for Public Cloud. And then Dave is going to spend some time doing a demo on Storage Insights. So I'm not exactly sure how many of you are familiar already with Spectrum Virtualize, but I'm just going to give you some background on the product and its capabilities and what it's all about. Spectrum Virtualize is available in many different forms. It is available in the appliance form, also known as SVC, SAN Volume Controller. It is also integrated into pretty much all the flash system offerings that IBM has, starting from the low-end systems all the way to the high-end systems. Now, recently, it's also available as a software-defined storage in the cloud. It is offered on IBM Cloud as well as on AWS. And really, the importance of Spectrum Virtualize is really the software that's running either on an appliance mode or it's running integrated with all the flash systems and now also available in public cloud. And really the highlight of it is that it's able to virtualize more than 450 different storage from different vendors behind it. It provides consistent APIs and storage. It also provides the easy tier, which allows the customers to tier the data across multiple tiers of storage. In addition, it has the DRP, the compression, the duplication, that actually provides capacity saving. And of course, it has a very really strong replication capability, which helps the customers move data either between different tiers, between different storage, and now also into the cloud. So here, we're going to look at some highlights of Spectrum Virtualize for Public Cloud. One of the important capabilities that this actually provides is for business continuity, essentially allowing a customer to move data from on-prem to a cloud environment and use that as a DR site. Another great advantage of Spectrum Virtualize for Public Cloud is that it provides DevOps capabilities to the customers for customers that have a hybrid multi-cloud or simply trying to develop applications into the cloud. Cyber resiliency, of course, one of the topics that everybody is talking about these days and very important to all businesses. So having the ability to create an air gap solution on public cloud gives the customers the ability to protect their data. Obviously, workload migration, one of the very important topics of the day. A lot of customers are looking at migrating their data, migrating their applications into the cloud, and Spectrum Virtualize actually provides all the tools and capabilities to allow them to do that. And last but least, the hybrid multi-cloud. For a lot of customers who are looking to extend their data center into a cloud environment, Spectrum Virtualize is a great tool to be able to build that hybrid multi-cloud environment and move workloads from on-prem to the cloud or back. So here is an example of an environment where a customer might be using heterogeneous storage from different vendors, just to name a few: Dell, EMC, HP, NetApp. And if they were to actually move their environment into the cloud, they could potentially be looking at using 3 or 4 different tools from different vendors in order to migrate that data into the cloud. But the difference now is going to be if they use Spectrum Virtualize. Spectrum Virtualize is capable of virtualizing all that storage behind it. And now with Spectrum Virtualize being available in the cloud, they can actually take all that data from different vendors and stream it into the cloud just under one management tool. So some of the deployment options for Spectrum Virtualize, as we spoke a few minutes ago, Spectrum Virtualize is available in an appliance and also integrated in pretty much all IBM storage offerings these days. But now it is also available on public cloud. It's available on IBM Cloud and on AWS. And from the discussions we've had with IBM, they're actually targeting to make it available on other public clouds very soon. Here is just a slide going over some of the highlights of deployment of Spectrum Virtualize on public cloud. The software is really easy to deploy. It only takes about 15 minutes using a CloudFormation stack within AWS to actually deploy the cluster. And it is also, some of the advantages that it brings to the cloud also is that it's very flexible and it's highly available. The picture that you see on the right corner is just an overview of the deployment on AWS. Essentially, a cluster will be running on a couple of EC2 instances, and it has EBS volumes that are backing it and creating the storage pool. So here is an overview of what I'm going to show you. We're going to start with looking at the deployment process on AWS. Obviously, in the interest of time, we're not going to be able to do the full deployment, but I've already prepared an environment on AWS that we're going to look at. We'll touch on things such as the EC2 instances and the backing EBS volumes. Then we're going to actually look at very short demo of data migration from on-prem to AWS, and then we're going to also recover some data from AWS back. So with this, I'm hoping to capture just at a very high level some of the use cases we just talked about a few minutes ago. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we get started on the demo. Okay, is everybody able to see my screen? Looks good, thank you. Just to go over the deployment, again, we won't have time to go through the full deployment, but it's very simple and easy to deploy. So on AWS, if you go to AWS Marketplace subscriptions, you will actually see Spectrum Virtualize for public cloud that's available. It's a BYOL kind of a deal, so you use your own licenses to actually use this on AWS. And the deployment is really simple. So you simply go to launch CloudFormation Template, and you're going to see the template's already available. You can either choose an existing VPC or create a new one. You pick the version that you want to deploy, very simple, and the region. And then the rest of this is just essentially filling in some very basic information about how you want to build the environment. And I'll just show you that page. There are a couple of things that I want to point out. So once I go into the last page here, basically all you need to provide is just the name of the environment, the CIDR block information, the IP information. A couple of things that I'd like to point out here. So as I mentioned earlier, the Spectrum Virtualize on AWS is going to run on a couple of EC2 instances. And the size of the instance is chosen based on the performance that you would require from the environment. There's also going to be a quorum node to maintain the high availability of the environment. And just one last thing I want to point out here on this page is this is where you choose the initial backing storage for the environment. You can pick 2 volumes, anywhere from 0.5 terabyte to 16 terabyte. And I should point out that the reason at the beginning you choose just 2 volumes is to speed up the deployment, so you don't have to wait for it for a long time. And then later on, I'll show you how you can easily add more storage to the environment. So once you have this information filled, essentially you just click next and you sit back and have a cup of coffee. 15 minutes later, you're going to have your environment up and running. Now let's take a look at that deployment, how the environment actually looks like. So if you recall the picture that I showed in one of the slides, there are going to be some EC2 instances which are basically the Spectrum Virtualized cluster. Here you have the node 1, node 2 with the sizes that I picked at the beginning when I was creating the environment, and of course the quorum node. Now at this point, this environment is up and running, and all I need to do is get the IP address of the quorum node and point my browser to it. And let me just go ahead and bring that up for you. So here is the IP address that I just showed you. If I point my browser to it, you actually have Spectrum Virtualize up and running in the cloud. And for those of you who are already familiar with Spectrum Virtualize, this screen looks very familiar because it is running the exact same software as you would be running on an SVC on-prem or on any of the other IBM storage systems. And here is a view of our in-house SVC. So as you can see, that there is really no difference between them because really the secret sauce here is the software, Spectrum Virtualized software. Now let me quickly also show you. So when I created this environment, as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 0.5 terabyte volumes that are given to the environment, and I can actually create a pool from that, which I've already done. The other thing I mentioned is adding storage. So it's really simple to add storage to this system. Let me go back to the AWS console. And if I go to Elastic Block Store volumes, these are the volumes I created a couple hours ago, a 500 gig SD1 and a 100 gig IO1 volumes. And as long as they're not assigned to any other instances, they're automatically going to show up in this environment as candidate. So it's just that easy to add storage to the system once you've created it. Now, the advantage that you get with Spectrum Virtualize here is that in an AWS environment, you probably know that when you assign and when you create and assign an EBS volume, you really don't have any control of what data goes in there. So if you give a 100 gig IO1 volume, which is kind of expensive high performance storage in AWS environment, whatever instance you assign that to, the data is going to go to that volume. Now in Spectrum Virtualize, you can use easy tier. So I could actually create different pools with different performance volumes attached to them and let easy tier move the hot data to a high performance pool and move the cold data to a lower performance pool. And that's going to be a great saving and great flexibility that Spectrum Virtualize brings to your environment. Now that we've looked at the overall view of this whole environment, let's take a look at what we can do with it. So on the, I have a Windows instance here that's running in our EVIC environment. I've created a 1 gig volume and attached to it from the SVC instance that I just showed you. So let me just show you that volume. I have this 1 gig volume attached already to my Windows instance. I put some data in here just for the purpose of the demo. So if you look here, I have a couple of folders with some data attached to it, created on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how easy it is to now migrate this data into the cloud. So to do that, obviously, you need to create a partnership between your on-prem instance and your instances running on AWS. I've already created this IP partnership between the two systems. And at this point, I'm basically ready to start copying data from on-prem to AWS. And on here on the AWS instance, I've already created a volume, same size, and this is going to be my copy target basically. So let's go ahead and start that replication. So if I go back to my volumes, I have the 1 gig here, go to copy services, remote copy, and I've already created this remote copy global mirror from on-prem to AWS. Current state is consistent synchronized. So if I go to the AWS instance now and look at that, I can see the volume is online. And of course, the status of the remote copy is going to look the same. It's consistent synchronous. So that means all the data that I have on that volume on the on-prem system is now available in AWS. And this 1 gig volume, when I actually was replicating it, it took about 1 minute to copy. Now, this is a small example. Obviously, you can have hundreds, you can have thousands of volumes that you can replicate from on-prem to AWS. Now, let's just, for the sake of the demo, let's take a look at that data that I actually copied to AWS. So I'm going to take a copy of this volume and then assign it to the EC2 instance that I have running on AWS. So I'm going to go ahead and use flash copy. Then I'm going to say create a snapshot and let that complete. So now I actually have a copy of that data. Now, the reason I'm creating a snapshot for the purpose of demo is I want to leave that remote copy from on-prem to AWS to continue and be ongoing. That way, any changes that I make into my on-prem environment is going to automatically get transferred over to AWS. But I can take a snapshot copy of that and actually use that for the purpose of the testing. And for the purpose of keeping track of these volumes, I'm just going to call this one a snapshot. And I'm also going to create a clone of that volume. And the reason I'm going to do that is because later on I want to show you how to reverse that data back to on-prem. So let me also create a clone of the volume. And here's the clone. I'm going to rename that as a clone. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Spectrum Virtualize, you know the management interface is very easy to use. And for those who are not familiar with it, it's a really, really easy product to use, very easy to learn. Everything is very flexible and easy. Okay, so now I have a snapshot and a clone. I'm going to take this snapshot volume and I'm going to assign it to an EC2 instance that I have running on AWS. And here's a view of it. Currently, it only has a 30 gigabyte EBS volume attached to it, but attaching the volume to that instance is going to be very simple. First thing I've done is I've actually created a host definition for that instance on the Spectrum Virtualize that's running on AWS. So at this point, I can take the snapshot volume and attach it to the host. Okay, so that's completed. Now I can actually go to that host, start iSCSI. It's already connected to each other. I'm just going to start the connection and then go to volumes and devices and say auto configure. That just created the volume and brought it into Windows. Now, next thing I need to do is find it here and bring it online. The volume is online. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at what I have here. So the volume is available. All my files are there, just like they were on the on-prem instance. And that's the file I created just for the purpose of the demo. So just that easily, you can actually extend your on-prem to AWS with just a few clicks, maybe spending a half an hour of time getting the environment set up and getting the data into the cloud. So now let's say we want to do the reverse of that. So up until now, we've kind of captured the use cases of hybrid multi-cloud, creating DevOps, creating a disaster recovery solution from on-prem to AWS. Now let's look at the reverse of that. So let's say we go back to the on-prem instance, on-prem Windows instance, and for whatever reason, something happened here and I basically lost some of my data, whether it was a ransomware, some disaster happened, or some malware came in and the data is now corrupted and gone. So it's just as easy to restore the data from AWS back to on-prem. Now to do that, I just need to take a few steps to make sure everything is ready to go. So first thing I'm going to check for is that clone volume that I created. It's 100%. So I have a good copy of my data. So again, like an air gap solution, this would be great because now I actually have a separate copy of my data available on AWS that I'm using for DevOps, for testing, for QA. I have another copy of it, which is sort of air gap because it's a clone volume and nothing can actually touch it. Even though the data that that I had on-prem got corrupted, the clone volume is really not affected by that because it's just one copy of it. So that's done. And what I'm going to do on the on-prem environment, I'm going to remove the disk that got corrupted from the Windows instance. And I'm going to drop that volume so it's no longer in use. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the AWS instance, and I'm going to reverse replicate that clone volume from AWS back to on-prem. So I'm going to do remote copy, create a relationship, here I'm going to take the clone volume as the master, and I already created a volume on the on-prem system prior to the demo, and I called it recover from AWS. So that's going to be my target now. Now, if I look at the direction, I'm actually reversing the direction of the replication from AWS back to on-prem, and say start copying. Now, once I start this copy, as I mentioned earlier, it's only going to take about a minute to get this data from AWS back to on-prem. Now, while that's taking place, I'm going to the on-prem instance, and I'm going to disconnect the corrupted volume from the instance that was actually using it. So and I'm just going to disconnect that volume, but I'm not actually going to destroy it. I might want to keep that copy for auditing purposes or for being able to actually potentially compare the corrupted data to what I'm recovering from AWS back to my on-prem environment. So now let's take a look at the status of that replication. So it still says inconsistent copying. So we'll just give it another 30 seconds or so to catch up. But as you can see, you can have data going from on-prem to AWS, and you can have data coming from AWS back to on-prem. This is all the flexibility and the power of using Spectrum Virtualize. And of course, the storage that you could have behind Spectrum Virtualize on-prem or on AWS, you can have a wide variety of different storage available to you to use. So this is going to take probably another 20 seconds to, okay, so if I look at the status, it's consistent synchronized now, which means the data is 100% available. I'm just going to refresh my screen, make sure that it shows the same status. But yeah, that data has been replicated from AWS back to the on-prem instance. There you go. So now I'm going to actually stop that replication, and then assign the volume to that host. So this is the one that I'm interested in. Okay, now I'm going to go to the on-prem instance. This is the one I recovered from AWS, and I'm going to simply map it to a host. Now I go back to the Windows instance. And then it's just simply a matter of bringing that volume back online. Okay, the volume is back online. And now I can actually go there and I have all my data back. So I hope this captured, again, at the very high level, the use cases that we talked about, creating a disaster recovery and DevOps environment on AWS, creating an air gap solution on AWS, and of course, the hybrid multi-cloud, extending your on-prem data into the cloud. So again, with the short time, I think we captured at a high level all those use cases, but if you are interested in seeing something more specific to a particular use case that you would like to see, we would be more than happy to set that up for you. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Dave for the rest of the demo. Thank you.
Thanks, Arash. Nice job. Okay. Are we back in business? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. So I'm not going to PowerPoint you to death. I want to talk about Storage Insights. I only have a couple of slides here. So what Storage Insights is, it's really IT visibility. And Storage Insights comes in two different flavors. The base version is free. Both of them install in 15 minutes. They are agentless. It's a single pane of glass enterprise dashboard, which gives you your performance, your capacity, your trending. A couple of the main differences in between the two products is the level of the metrics that you see and the retention policy. As you can see, you only get 24 hours with Storage Insights. Storage Insights Pro gives you that 2-year data retention. The pricing for that is a subscription model based on 50 terabyte increments. It's charged per month. And I can tell you that you probably spend more on lunch in 1 week than what that charge is going to be. The pricing is very advantageous. Let's talk a little bit about the architecture. So essentially how it works is there's a lightweight data collector. It's installed in your data center, and that is used to stream the performance, capacity, asset, and configuration metadata to your IBM cloud. And it's super simple to deploy, I can say with confidence, and I can say that knowing I see some MicroStrategy executives on this webinar, that anyone listening right now has the technical wherewithal to install this product. It's really that simple. So the metadata from on-site flows to the IBM cloud over HTTPS. It is a secure connection. As you can see, it's ISO ISEC 27001 security certified. I have no idea what that means, but my security guys tells me that's very good. Once it's up into the cloud, it's browser-based, and it's obviously intended for the operations and infrastructure team. You can provide additional users access to this dashboard. If you wanted to give it to a line of business, you could do that. As you'll see in the demo here in a few minutes, you can give a resource group view. Most storage arrays today, they're shared. The days of a dedicated storage array are long gone. And if you want to give your access to your storage array to an end user, you don't necessarily want them to see what else is going on in there. So the resource group concepts allows you to see exactly what's going on by a specific line of business. You could look at it by a specific application and things like that. And I'll show you that in the demo in a few minutes. One of the biggest advantages, again, of Storage Insights is the fact that you are now that much closer to IBM support. IBM support has access to, obviously, all the data that's going up into the IBM cloud. For them to have that data right at their fingertips, it drastically reduces your time to resolution when you're troubleshooting tickets. Speaking of tickets, one of the main advantages, and I will show you this to this product, is the ability to open up a ticket and send logs to IBM support in a couple of clicks. No more picking up the phone, no more going through the GUI. What do I want to select? Which log package is it? Okay, what website do I go to upload it? All gone when you have Storage Insights. And I will show you how to accomplish that in a couple of clicks once we get into the demo. So there's endless use cases for this project. The biggest benefactor of Storage Insights is obviously IT operations. The simplification of managing the storage systems, as we talked about earlier. The improvements in resiliency of the storage systems translate directly to business value. So with that, let's just jump right into the demo. I know my time is short, but I want to hit on as much as I can in 15 minutes. So I'm going to go pretty quickly here, but I want to make sure that I cover everything. So hopefully everyone can now see. Let me just move this off. Can everyone see Storage Insights? Give me a nod, Danny, Arash, can you? Okay, great. So this is the first view you get to. This is the NOC. Anybody who's ever walked into a NOC has seen a screen like this. It's basically all of the devices in the environment on one single pane of glass. How are they all running? Obviously, you don't want to see any red, and right off the bat, we see a box here that is red. So let's just click right into it and see what we can find. So we pop this open, right away we see, we can follow the tree from top to bottom. We've got a logical component error. It's on a particular volume. So let's click into that. Let's look at the details and we can see what that error is all about. So when this loads, we'll see what we have. So right off the top, it's filtered to the top for you. It tells us that we have a particular volume that's offline. So we can start to troubleshoot that. That could be on purpose. There could be many reasons why. But you also see on the screen how much other data is supplied from just digging into a volume view. And there is an infinite list here of other metrics, KPIs tied to that volume that you can look at from this particular view. So you can add these, remove these, you can export this, you can create this report and send it off to yourself, management, for whatever reason. So let's just back up we'll go through some of these screens in order. So that'd be your NOC view. An overview here. This is something that you'd probably want to show to your C-level. This is a high-level overview of the environment. You could see your block capacity. You can do trending, so you can push out the line. What might this look like over 6 months, 1 year, based on my current used capacity and growth. You can see all the resources under management. As we talked about before, in the paid subscription, you can look at other competitors' products. So in this case, we actually have some NetApp in here just so we can show that. So we can see block and file, and down here you can obviously see some additional graphics here for reclaimable storage, block performance, and tier analysis. And we'll dig into each one of them a little bit throughout this. If we were to go here to notifications, so right now I think there were about 6 or 7 arrays in there. We don't want to click into each one to figure out what's going on. So we can look at this consolidated view here to look at all the notifications and think about the insights that you see here. This is showing us there's a system out here that has drives with faulty firmware. There's a system out here that has potentially exposed to losses to a code bug. Think about the insights there that this dashboard is providing to you just right out of the bat. All I did was launch the subsystems, added them to the portal, and now it's giving me all this data. These are the errors. These are the ones that you want to go tackle. There are also informational messages here. And look at what insights you can get right here. There's hosts that have more than the number of recommended paths to a volume. We're talking about volumes that don't have feature protection turned on. Particular volumes are offline. Some hosts here are not leveraging NPIV. If you think about a competitor's tool, and I can't think of one that gives you this type of information out of the box on how you can enhance the resiliency of your environment, it's just an extremely powerful tool, and our customers love it. Alerts is the same thing. So what we can talk about next is, and I'm going very fast because I know I'm pressed for time, so sorry about that. This is a capacity view, overall capacity view of the block storage environment. I can click here and I can see what I have for, once it loads, I can look at this by file. I can look at it by storage system individual. Right now it's a holistic view. So let me just click into there to show you what it looks like. Sorry, the screen's painting a little slow. And then if I wanted to explore additional details of a particular box, I can just click into one of these. So if I were to double click into this particular box, I can now see deeper analytics. And let this paint, I'll talk about what we see here. So obviously we see our capacity views. We can see a bunch of predefined performance reports that IBM feels are very applicable. But if you don't feel they're applicable or out of the can, you can change this. You can see how many options we have here to tailor this dashboard to exactly what you want to see. What I want to go to next is what I talked about before, was the ticketing, because I think this is a home run. Every customer that has Storage Insights deployed raves about the simplicity of what it is now to create a ticket and get linked up with IBM. So we'll just run through this really quickly. We'll create a ticket. The system will go out. It'll pull your customer number, pull the system, pull the serial number, right? Think about how long it would take you to just get that high-level information. Most customers don't have that right at their fingertips. Here it pulls it in all for you. You type a little description of what you have going on. You could add images or files or things you're seeing, from the host about your problem. Attach that to this PMR. You can set the severity. Yes, you can do that. You don't have to call and say, hey, I haven't gotten a call back in a couple hours. This is really hot. Can you escalate me from a level 4 to a level 3, 2, 1, whatever it is? You set it right here. You tell IBM how severe it is to you. Then you can say whether it's hardware or software. Pretty simple. Go next, type in your contact information, hit submit, and your ticket is now open. If you wanted to add logs, here it is in the drop down. You select which one you want, and off it goes. It's that simple. Customers love it. Let's go through some other things here. I know I don't have much time. I will, again, performance. There's a whole bunch of canned reports here for you. You can choose whatever you want. If you wanted to take this a level deeper, you could, and I will show you how to do that. And again, I'm sorry that the screen is painting so slow. It's painting slow on my side too. And it's not an IBM problem. It's the webinar that's killing me. So if I'm in here, I just want to quickly show you the amount of metrics that are at your fingertips with this product. You can see all the metrics here by volumes that I can tag. You can see all the metrics by disk, by port, by node, and then you can see all the metrics that are included with them. This is the power of the tool. This will enhance your troubleshooting endeavors tenfold. Let me back out of here. And then if you wanted to, hone in on a particular, you knew that maybe you have fiber channel port saturation. You can click into here. Okay, I see all my ports online. And if you notice, there's a performance tab right here. You can quickly jump to a filtered report for that particular resource that you're focused on. So I can say, okay, I'm not hitting 8 gig or 16 gig, so I know I'm not bound by a fiber channel port saturation. Reclamation, if you have volumes not mapped to hosts, or you're not getting the most out of thin provisioning This tool will tell you where you can go, save some space. As you can see, we waste a lot of space in our lab. Tier planning, if you have storage that has multiple tiers, you have flash, you have HDD, you have nearline SAS, this tool will tell you where your data is optimized best. As you can see here, 100% of our data is in tier 1. But the tool tells us we're a lab, we're not really pushing it that hard. We could really get away with moving all that data to tier 3. So we're actually overspending on our tier 1 when tier 3 will suffice. Very powerful metric right there. This is a high level view of just all the resources. Again, you can look at them all in one place if you wanted to quickly see, you know, what's my capacity look like by all my systems, and what are the firmware levels on all my systems. You can see all that right here. And again, you can click off here any metric that you want to see. Again, constant theme, if you want to jump to the performance of those boxes or the capacity of those boxes, that data is right there again at your fingertips, just a click away. As we talked about, there's file storage systems available to you as well. I've got a couple of NetApp devices. There's object storage. There's an IBM COS in here that you can look at the metrics on. If you want to look at all of your pools, you could do that at one single time, or all of your servers. Let me jump to the groups, because I know that's a pretty important one that a lot of our customers like as well. So I said before, if you had a particular business unit you wanted to expose their data to it, or let's look at it a different way. Let's just say I'm curious to know what my ESX environment is doing in the midst of the greater all environment. Well, you can create this application tag, and from there you can quickly see what exactly it is that my ESX environment only is doing in this environment. We can see here it's using about 64 gigs. We can see the servers that attach to, which department is talking, what volumes make up my ESX environment. And then again, like we've said all along, just a right click away, you can go look at the performance of that particular environment. What kind of stress is that ESX environment putting on my storage array? Am I delivering the response time to the ESX users that I expect and they expect? And you can look at that in just a couple of clicks. So based on this, we're doing pretty good. Again, you could break it down by application, you could break it down by department, you could break it down by group. Reports, there's a lot of great reports out of the box. Let's just quickly go through what a report creation would look like. As you can see, there's a whole lot of metrics here that you can create a report based on your storage type, by server. You could do it based on inventory. You could even do it on chargeback. Let's just quickly run through one of these and see what this looks like. So if I wanted to create a report, I'd want to, call it chargeback. I'm not going to go through this completely. Just want to go through the motions. I want to email it to myself. I can set the frequency of how often I want to get this. It's probably something to send yourself in your seed level. How do you charge your chargeback? Do you do it by used, or you do it based on a provision? You can make that decision here. How granular do you want to look at by capacity unit? If you want to do it by application, you could do that. As you saw, we had a couple of created before. We can just do it directly on ESX. And then you have the ability to include, and maybe you don't charge them for flash copies, you could untag that. And then you can set your own default cost here. I know I charge, $200 a terabyte, whatever it may be, make it up. And then you have your report created. You could send that. You obviously have the interval set. You can send it to yourself, your seed level. Once a month, you can send your chargeback metrics, and it's automated, and you don't have to do a thing once you set it up. Set it and forget it. So that's the reports. Again, you can create as many as you want. Why don't I fly over working here? Configuration here, the data collectors. These are the data collectors you set up initially. You can just go here to check on the health of them. I know I only have 5 minutes left, so Kelly, if you stop me, I know you want to leave some time for Q&A, and I am trying to go as fast as possible. So here's the data collectors. There's a bulk alert policy. We talked about tiers, talked about some settings here. This is just configuration information, and managed capacity, again, is just all your devices and how much capacity they're actually using. Now, I know I went through that super fast. I cannot do this product justice in a 15-minute demo. As Arash said, more than happy to go and spend a greater length of time with each of you on this particular product to show you all the great capabilities. Hopefully in those 15 minutes, you got a sense of the magnitude of data and insight you can pull out of this simple dashboard. So with that, Kelly, I give you 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. So we have not had any questions come in. I do want to open it up to the audience. If you guys have any questions for our presenters, you can push them through the Q&A section, and Dave, Arash, and Danny will be glad to ask those or answer those for you. And Dave, while we wait for any questions, if there was anything else you wanted to do in the demo, you're more than welcome to.
Of course.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate it. As Dave said, we could, work with any one of our customers to go in a more in-depth dive on Insights Pro or Spectrum Virtualize in the cloud. We just wanted to give everybody a little taste of the capabilities out there. The IBM Storage IBM has a great portfolio of storage products that have awesome functionality. They've recently consolidated their storage offerings around Spectrum Virtualize, both for on-prem, in the cloud, as an appliance or as a software-defined storage infrastructure. So a lot of functionalities, a lot of capabilities. We're going to be continuing to do these little lunch and learns to highlight the value of the IBM storage for our customers. So thank you for taking the time to spend your lunch with us. Thank you, everyone.